you pronounce your name again?
Sari. Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited about my guest today, Dan Chan. He is an award-winning magician, mind reader, world-class magician, I really should say, a mind reader. He has been named a top virtual magician too, which is probably a whole new sort of tag. I really want to right off the bat send people right to his website, themillionairesmentalist.com, because there's just some fabulous reading about you. You've been featured, BuzzFeed did a full feature profile, which I found fascinating, about you. Silicon Valley's favorite magician. And you've been in the Bay Area, Radio Disney, the Wall Street Journal. I'll get my coffee going here. The Hustle. But you've been on Business Insider. And what that just tells me is that you've got credentials to blow people's minds. And why I sent people right away after this to really take a look at your website is, I was just telling you offline that last night when I was doing a little bit of research, I was kind of going from video to video. And I'm so excited you're here because it was really fun to see you interact live in an audience. And then I was so curious, how do you interact as we're, talking today in these screens? Like, and so welcome. Thank you from the Bay Area to Michigan this morning.
Thank you for having me.
I guess, I want to go way backwards and not really talk about your life today. How does Dan, as a young boy, decide I want to do this, or I like this world of magic, or I have this talent? Because it's not just, to me, when I see true talent, it's innate. It's something you have.
Yeah, I think we all have to aspire to be something greater. We all see a vision of our future, and the vision doesn't come through, for me at least, until people started telling me that I could do it. And then they authentically gave me the tools to do it. And then I reinvested in my own success. And I just really decided that this is what I wanted to do. I watched Copperfield when I was younger, and I would remember taking out the VHS tapes and recording it and then watching everything frame by frame. But at that time, I didn't know that I was going to be a magician. And all the pieces kind of fit together. And I think it's really important as parents not to limit what our children do. I wanted to be a lifeguard, to be honest with you, before I was a magician. I told my mom that, and she cried. But to honor her wishes, I ended up getting a regular day job. I worked at PayPal pre-IPO for 13 months. My stock certificate says X.com because they merged together. And I worked with some really famous people like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel in the Embarcadero offices before they moved to their corporate headquarters where they're at now. So it was it was choosing the path that was less taken.
And what about that, the creativity of the magic world just kind of made you just go for it and be able to say to your mom, and it's always hard to say to parents, I am going to go for it. I've got to live my dream. I mean, I'll have my day job, but that's what it is. It's a day job right here. And, you can say that people said you're good, but you had to believe it. What was it about that life or you saw in yourself that said, hey, I think I can do this?
To be honest, some days you feel like you're not sure if you can do it, or you're overextended because you have doubts because people have put those doubts there. Like I had an uncle, and not to just, he's he's very well off, but he said to me, Dan, I wouldn't pay a penny or I wouldn't pay anything to see you do that. And that was debilitating. And that also hurt my pricing structure in the beginning because my sense of self-worth, my parents were separated. So my dad would always come by and he would support, but he wasn't really business minded or savvy. But the most business minded person who was savvy was one of my uncles. And he told me that what I did, in a sense, had very little worth. I don't think he's ever seen me perform once. And he says, oh, that works for you or whatever. And it's interesting that part of the success that I feel that I have was trying to prove myself to them and get validation. And that's why I've continued to push myself, is I want that validation. And some of those things also drive you, including fear, which can't,
right.
The fear can debilitate, but the love that I have for my wife and my kids was really what drove me in the pandemic, because before the pandemic, I did 5,000 plus shows. I didn't know what to do. I applied for jobs at the beginning of the pandemic because everything slowed. I can show you this chart of how everything just close went to zero. And I was having anxiety and panic attacks.
Well, and I think that you bring up a really prominent point, that the bottom line is that you're in an industry that pretty much, I'd say, in California, March 6th, 13th, 20th, somewhere in there, we all shut down, but, all the bookings, if you looked at a computer screen, it probably went, like, it's just like your email probably read like, oh, sorry, well, I'll get back to you. Let's push this. And, I know because I shared with you, as a publicist, I had, people in the entertainment world and certainly restaurants, and the whole world was doing that. But that's your, when it's your livelihood of getting on a plane or train or, automobile, as they say, and you're not only you're booking, but you're staying in a hotel and the hotel's closed and all, it's just a trickle effect. The anxiety is real. It's your livelihood. It's real. And it's also yourself. I am who I am because I'm on a stage and I'm entertaining people. And now I'm at home and it's breakfast time. Now it's lunchtime, and it is scary. Besides, the first few weeks where I'm sure you were like, okay, this is going to pass and I'll move on. But, how did you really, I think it's really important to talk about it. Someone successful in the entertainment world, how did you pivot from, and again, go to the website, because you will see Dan really interacting with his audience. There is a scene I saw where he literally pickpockets more or less someone and finds things. And you're interacting, you're touching, you're with your audience. They can't help but be engaged. And all of a sudden you're like this interview.
Yeah.
How did you
I realized the power of telling stories, and he who tells the best story in life wins. And that was told to me by Michael Weber, a very famous magician and consultant. I started pitching to media and on LinkedIn. The first story wasn't actually a good story because very few people were hesitant to, I was hesitant to even pitch media on this story, but I realized that I had to say something, even if people would take pity on my family, but it wasn't that bad. But I was, get it. Like I have two kids and I have a wife. I have a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old now. But the article that I'm sharing with you now was about how I lost 8K in 1 week. And this was on CNBC. And there was no positive press there, but there was authenticity. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, I tell my friends who are struggling through certain things, pitch publicity and tell them your story, because every hero has a journey. Mm-hmm. You can't just jump on the screen. And a lot of people try to hide that or not. That beginning is what people want to hear, because they want to know that they can do it if they wanted to.
Yeah.
You can be a PR person if you want to be. You can be a magician if you want to be, but you have to follow the steps, and success leaves clues. If you are authentic and ask respectfully, people will help you. They're not going to give away the farm. You'll have to work your way through it. You have to train with, you have to find mentors. There's a lot of things that society doesn't tell us anymore. Well, not, it doesn't, that message doesn't get out there as often as I think it should.
Dan, I think you're so right. I'm a mother of 3 older kids, and I really believe in mentorship. And I believe, and I love when I get to talk to a lot of people, because no matter what they do, and certainly in the last year, so often the message at 10 o'clock when I'm talking to someone is ask for help, share your story, which is really why I started these Facebook Lives, was, selfishly to bring people's stories about, but to meet fascinating people like yourself. But I commend you for saying that, and, sort of peeling away, that vulnerability, and also taking it to the press, because it's hard. It's hard to say, I lost all my bookings. And, I've said so often to my own kids when they're feeling down through this pandemic wasn't your fault. And I don't even know sometimes if that's the right words, but I've said it to my clients too. The pandemic wasn't your fault. What are we going to do? Where are we going today? Because you can sort of get swallowed up in that. But, you took a moment, you took a beat and said, this stinks. Even the first virtual shows on record, you said they didn't feel so great to you, because probably because they weren't as authentic, I'm going to guess. You are like, you were used to interacting. I mean, you're an entertainer. Entertainers interact with their audience. Whether it's a good night or a bad night, there's interaction. How has it been received, and how have you shifted your show to now, really going on a really nice path virtually? And do you think we're going to stay there, or how's that transition?
Not everyone's going to stay there.
Yeah.
I think some people absolutely hate virtual, but I think that's an old generation, or those are people with a limited mindset. I look at the possibilities, and every strength, every weakness that we have is also our strength. So you have, and that was taught to me by a guy by the name of Shoot Ogawa, very, very famous. I would say, like, if he's a grandmaster as a magician, but we will continue to do virtual shows afterwards, because if you're on a virtual meeting, you can have 15 minutes to kick things off. I've done events for US, India, East and West Coast. I've done parties where we've had people who haven't seen each other for ages, since college, 10 or 15 years, and they came together virtually from Canada, US, from Asia. And that's just a way to connect. You might have family that you don't see often.
Yeah.
And there's also some really cool economics about this. There's scale. There's what I can throw in things that I would never do in a live show, because I'd have to charge you extra to levitate, which I do almost every single show now. I levitate in my thing, and I would only do that very seldom. And now I'm doing that all the time. And I don't have to rent a theater. Believe it or not, this is my kitchen right here, right off to the side. I am, last year was tough.
Yeah.
It was, even though I did better in December, I 2 or 3x'd my December, and my net worth increased significantly last year, but I still was down relatively on that last year. But that gave me extra time to invest and do other things. I've had saved so much time. I used to drive an hour to an event and arrive an hour early, do my event, and I felt obligated to stay a little extra because it was awkward to leave because you love your audience so much. And then you have to drive home. That was a 4-hour gig.
Right. I agree with you. Like I'm listening to you get more and more excited. And I love that because I think about where you were and I think about the potential of the fact that you might drive 4 hours again, but you don't have to. You can do both.
I can do both if I want, but I'm probably going to end up focusing a little bit more on virtual because there's so many possibilities. One day in December, I did 12 shows.
Oh my God.
I never did that ever in my life. I did a show every half an hour from 8 shows in a row from, I think, 1 p.m. to like 5 p.m.
Does it exhaust you? Like, to me, I watched your shows. Excuse me. It seems like very mentally draining too.
You know what my wife says? I fall asleep. Literally, I'm talking to her and I sometimes fall asleep and I was like, oh, you woke me up. Literally right when I go to bed, it's not more than 1 minute. I'm already out. It's usually 5 seconds.
That could be any husband in the world. I just want you to know.
Really? Your husband just works as hard as me then.
But I mean, I love that because I really love to hear these stories of how people have really looked at, I call it a little bit of the silver lining of the pandemic because there have been horrible things that have come out of this, no question. But everything doesn't have to be horrible. There are really good things and there's really good ways to shift yourself, your mindset, and the way you handle your own, what I call your own home and economy, and I think that's what moves, people. And I think that you're a really good role model to the entertainment world of how you can do things. And I mean, I just absolutely, I love that. Excuse me. Do you feel connected to your audience?
More so than even before the pandemic, because I can reach over, I can grab things, I can mute and unmute. There are so many advantages. I can hear people and I don't have to give them a round of applause as they come on stage and there's that dead time. I'm just like clicking and I'm moving and I'm not the best on memories because I'm doing so many shows and I can't even remember names. Like during the show, someone just tells me and I'm like, what was your name again? Good memory. That's what I used to do. And that was not, I just felt that was cheapened, but now I can see everyone's name. And for that moment, I can call them by name and I can move around.
Yeah.
And I don't even, and it's not even weird. You don't have to introduce yourself. Hi, sorry. You already have a name tag on Zoom. So the thing is, I've got more beats per minute, more magic per minute, more laughs per minute because I don't have to go through those pleasantries of, hey, my name is, which is great. We still need those things when we move back to live environments to know how to greet people. But now everything happens a little bit faster and that's okay.
I love it. Everybody go to millionairesmentalist.com. What I love about this is when we're in the middle of sort of being at home, and you said it earlier, you can bring together people you haven't seen in a long time. I was thinking about it in terms of a lot of people are working from home and they're working from home and that's all they're doing. I work with, in fact, I'm going to give your name to a couple of my clients because I just think this is just something that would be so fun for their employees to do together. They can have a glass of wine at home. They can engage with you and it's not work, but you're with your work friends. There's a huge amount of articles out there right now that the number one thing people miss is that sort of standing around the water cooler concept or going in a lunchroom or having lunch with your friends. And so when you're on Zoom, for work, it's all business. But to have you come in and at 12 o'clock and say, okay, everybody, we're going to have lunch. But guess what? We're having, a special guest today. It's just a great way to bring people together and families, like you said. I mean, I haven't really seen my sister in months, way more than months. And my nieces and nephews, we all live everywhere. I don't want to make it sound like you're a birthday party entertainer, because let's just say you have grown way past that. But it's just this way of connecting people and really bringing the entertainment, together in such a bigger way. And that's one of the videos that I really participated in watching yesterday. And I was having fun watching it with a group of work colleagues that I didn't know at all and had nothing to do with. And I was having so much fun watching them have fun. Like it just made me happy. I was like, okay, this is really fun. So it made me happy. And I think that that's the best joy in what you do, and being able to transition it. And when you first sort of came on my calendar, I was like, I wonder what this will be about. I wonder how you're surviving and what you're doing. And I love that you really have just transitioned, but you also are looking forward to, you could step on a stage or not.
Yeah, I have more options. And I love when multi-generations come together. I love, seeing 3 or 4 generations together virtually, because that is usually where people are distributed. And it gives them a good excuse, because you with grandparents and the other generation, there's a little bit of connection, because I've realized that even with my kids and my parents, when they show up, there's this little bit disconnect. But the grandparents love seeing the kids have fun. And it's even more amazing when the middle generation connects everyone, because they don't realize how much fun the parents are going to have, even though they're a little bit hesitant to get on Zoom or this new platform, because you can see them fuddling through it. I've had so many people surprising to me, I've had so many people of the older generation tell me how much fun they're having. And to me, that's making learning fun, because now they're like, wow, this is the greatest thing. I can see the possibilities of Zoom, because they haven't been using that for anything. And it's the first time they get introduced to Zoom, and that is with a magic show. And it is surprising how magic is.
Well, and I think they see the technology in a much more, fun, engaging way. I mean, I know for myself, we made my mother get Facebook, thinking, oh, you'll love Facebook, you'll connect with friends, and you'll see pictures of your grandchildren, like back when they were little. Well, she doesn't really like Facebook. She is, I don't want to say old school. She wants to pick up the phone. She wants to talk. She wants real pictures. But in this pandemic, she's been on Zoom a lot and been able to have, fun with her friends through Zoom. And she feels more like it's more intimate. It's not like the whole world of, Facebook, which we are on right now. So, and everybody's seeing us, but I can, the different generations, and I can understand, that. Before I let you go, because I know it's early where you are and your house is eventually going to start waking up. I know I'm probably asking, like, who your favorite child is with this question, but is there a memorable performance that you've had, or most memorable performance?
You talking about my children? I'll
no,
tell you.
I meant like when you say oh, pick your most memorable performance. You probably have had many, so it's like saying, oh, pick your favorite child. Is in relation.
I have three. One was there was a picturesque in Woodside, California. one of the founders of one of the biggest companies you've ever heard of hired me to do a party, and he had a tiger in his backyard, a leopard, 3 camels, an eagle, and I
Okay.
listed everything from A to Z. And he had choco tacos, and he's treated me like a guest after I was done, and he tipped me $1,000. And that was one of the most memorable performances ever. And the best thing was I got to perform with my entire family that last time. He saw my wife doing balloons, my son juggling well, he didn't do torches, I think, that day, but my son juggles torches and picks pockets at 13 years old. And my daughter juggled, and we had the entire family there. Another performance was we performed at one of my favorite restaurants. It's so beautiful. It's the Plumed Horse in Saratoga. I brought a company there. They did an entire buyout. They had my biggest package. Afterwards, I told my daughter, if you work hard, you can go to parties like that and people pay you. And she was eating caviar. She loves caviar, but we rarely have it. We don't spoil her. We work really hard, and we live in a very humble place in Fremont. But I let her see why I was working so hard, because she sees me like I literally slept less than 5 hours yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
They're sleeping right on.
I think that you're showing them, and also I think that's the most, a really important thing, like during this pandemic, how we show different generations, how to move forward. And that's what you're doing as a performer, but as most importantly, in your role as a father.
Yeah, I want them to find what they love. I'm so passionate about it. It doesn't even feel like work when I'm waking up. Mm-hmm. You see, just to come in here, I've like slammed the work back to back to back, and no one's pushing me. And you can truly tell that I love what I do. And that's what I think everyone should do, because once you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work anymore. And that's the only reason why I've been able to achieve the amount of success that I have. I'm going to share with you this one last link about the Airbnb IPO. I've gone above and beyond for all my clients, including Airbnb and many other things. And that is why you become a trusted advisor. And that article shows some of the reaping of the words, but you plant these seeds and they come there. The last thing that I wanted to leave off with is you have no success without successors. So I'm telling people they can do it if they put in the work and they approach everything respectfully, and they learn, they put in the work and they think about it thoughtfully, and they connect, because people want to support you. Mm-hmm. We want to support each other as a community.
I love that. I am so excited to have had this time and do this interview today. I hope that you will come back anytime you want and share what's going on with you and your success as we sort of transition through, the different stages of this pandemic. I think, I'm so happy after a year we're getting closer to a different way of doing things. And I wish you all the success. People listening, and it's in our links today. Millionaires Minimalist. Oh my God, I said it right the whole time, .com. And I really enjoyed this time. Thank you so much, Dan Chan.
Thank you, Sari.
Master magician. Have a great day.
Thank you.